The Humane Society of the United States is all about animal welfare and responsible pet keeping. Their site is filled with tons of pages all about actually teaching people on how to properly care for animals to make sure that they're happy and healthy. For example, you've got cats. There's a page on dogs, lots of stuff on dogs, even things like aquarium fish. The list goes on. They have these for ferrets, guinea pigs, rabbits, gerbils, horses, hamsters, mice, and snakes. Wait, where's the snakes? Oh, okay, here they are. They're listed under the Dangerous Species tab, hanging out with big cats, primates, and bears. And that's what they get categorized with. They're also categorized under the wildlife section on the same page as the pets. They're sharing the page with things like elephants, dolphins, bobcats, chimpanzees. Now I want to cover two things with the Humane Society. Firstly, they think large snakes like pythons and anacondas and boas should be completely banned. And then secondly, we can talk about why they think every reptile should be banned. They have a lovely video that we can watch through, but first we can talk about why large snakes should be completely illegal. Okay, so let's check out the main page with snakes. So many people seem to be afraid of snakes that some experts speculate this is a predisposition inherited from our distant primate ancestors. These incredible creatures fare best when left alone in their natural environment, not as pets. And then they have a whole page dedicated to dangerous exotic pets, snakes. Allowing private possession of these dangerous reptiles threatens public safety, environmental health, and the welfare of animals themselves. Right next to that you see an image, but it says, most pet snakes are kept in tanks so small they can't even stretch out. They're showing a tank in a pet store. It looks like PetSmart or something. Most reptile keepers don't support stores like PetSmart and Petco and different things because they do have terrible husbandry, but then on the next little image page it says this boa constrictor died of injuries incurred from either abandonment or neglect after being found at a Long Island intersection. For some reason that contributes to why they should be illegal, but we'll get onto that later. So they said the majority of reptile owners keep their pets for less than 1 year. I don't know how true that is. There's no sources backing that up. We could just assume it is true. We'll get onto that a bit more later. They said some animals die due to poor care, while others, including unwanted snakes, may be intentionally released outdoors or escape from poorly secured cages. Requiring specialized expertise and care, many captive constrictor snakes end up suffering from starvation, dehydration, parasites, respiratory infections, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, just to warn you, I'm going to be comparing snakes to dogs quite a bit. I always use dogs as an example because every organization loves dogs and everybody loves dogs. I'm not saying I don't like dogs, I'm more of a cat person, but I use dogs as an example because they're not going anywhere and they are like universally loved by everyone and they're known that they make a good pet. And one of the times I clicked on your page, I get this pop-up on the exact page that we're talking about. It says, ready for a second chance. More than 350 animals saved from cruelty and neglect. Help them now. So dogs under this neglect and abuse should get a second chance is what they're saying. And we need to educate people on dogs, on how to care for them properly and get rid of all this cruelty and neglect and stuff. That's what their entire organization is basically about. But then look at neglected snakes and snakes under cruelty and bad care. Well, they should just be illegal. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between these. A threat to public safety is the next thing on here. Since 1990, 12 people have died from constrictor snake-related incidents in the United States. Obviously, you want as few deaths from as few animals as possible. But 12 since 1990. Since 1990, I counted, there's been 432 deaths by dogs. These are domesticated dogs that we're talking about, which resulted in 432 deaths over the same span of time where there were 12 constrictor-related deaths. Horses, there's an average of 20 deaths per year. That's about 540 deaths by horses in the span of the 400-something dogs and the 12 constrictors. Now, every death that can be avoided needs to be avoided in some way if it's possible. However, you can't be a hypocrite about it with how they are on the Humane Society. You either have to say snakes are illegal, dogs are illegal, horses are illegal, because they all result in deaths. Or you can say, let's just keep them all and try to educate people and get it as safe as possible. But instead, you're just randomly picking some that aren't even nearly as dangerous based on the statistics to just make illegal for some reason. By the way, the deaths by dogs are very brutal and unexpected and confusing. You can look at the list and it actually has a little description for every death from a dog. Again, I don't want dogs to be illegal. I think they should all be kept as pets. Now, some of the outcomes from the snakes that kill these few people, they are very sad to hear about, and it's very unfortunate that they happened. And they have this whole documented list of things that have happened with snakes, trying to help support their claim that they should not be allowed. But some of them are just ridiculous. 2007 in Massachusetts, a teenager making lemonade started screaming after he was bitten. Teenager making lemonade started screaming after he was bitten on the toe by a 2.5-foot albino python who was hiding under the dishwasher in his kitchen. It's unknown where the snake came from. The family called the police. A 2.5-foot boa biting you on the toe. Here, I think I have an image of when my ball python bit me. He's like almost 4 feet. This is the outcome of the bite. And that's worth documenting to help support the claim that snakes should be illegal. December 2nd, 2002 in California. A female student was bitten on the finger by a 3-foot boa constrictor kept in the middle school classroom. So again, there are actual serious cases of this where there were unfortunate outcomes with the snakes, which you can also find online. I'll try and link everything below. But again, it's kind of hypocritical to say that these should be not allowed while others can be. Okay, here's one of the things that really aggravated me. There's a whole section on snakes putting firefighters in danger. You can probably guess firefighters are very important and are required to save a lot of people. However, they're saying that because firefighters are rescuing snakes, that's putting them in danger. You can see like there are different houses that might have caught on fire and there were snakes in there that had to be rescued. So they went in, rescued the snakes themselves, got them out of the enclosures and all this stuff. Maybe a couple of them escaped because there was a fire and stuff is burning. And apparently that's a valid reason as to why snakes are just so bad to be kept as pets, especially the large ones. However, I just looked up something about firefighters and dogs, and there are articles and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of the dangers of dogs and firefighters. There's all this stuff that a lot of them go through where they have to look out for the signs of dogs, like beware of dog signs before going into houses or going over fences. There's info on spotting the dogs and looking for them. Then if you do, warning signs from the dogs if they might attack you. Then how to avoid the attacks, how to defend the attacks, and what to do if you or someone else is being mauled by a dog while you're trying to do the thing. Again, just want to say, the dogs, most of the time they're fine, but you can't say that snakes are putting firefighters in danger because they're going in and saving them. It's very much less severe than the dangers of dogs being in the backyard when a firefighter's trying to get over and save people or a house. So we could go on about the information they have on the site. They have other weird things that you can look at yourself and be just as confused by as I am. But now I want to move on to a video they have on why all reptiles should be illegal and banned from the pet trade entirely. So now I'm at the computer where we can watch a video they have on why all reptiles should be illegal to keep, or basically banned and not allowed anywhere. Now keep in mind, this is an 11.5-minute video. I trimmed it down a ton, so if you want to see the full context of anything, it's all linked in the description. The video has 99 likes and 500 dislikes. But I just want that as a disclaimer if it looks like, because I did actually chop this up so that it wouldn't take forever.
Most reptiles that are sold as pets in the United States and globally have been captured from the wild, either in another country or even here domestically.
Wild-caught animals are so severely compromised, health-wise, stress-wise, parasite loads.
So a huge chunk of this video is about wild-caught animals being sold in pet stores. Now this video is a bit old, but it's still posted, it's still getting views, so I think it's still important. However, I'm guessing the age on this video just isn't quite as updated because the majority, pretty much like every reptile in stores like Petco and PetSmart, are actually captive bred. However, this is still not okay, which we've talked about a lot, or I've talked about a lot on this channel. The far majority, I'd say 90+% of reptile keepers do not like and do not support these big pet stores like Petco and PetSmart, which are the ones that they're talking about, and other big chains like that. As basically their entire argument, the fact that the main people that sell them are not good sellers. I can't remember if I mentioned it before or not, but this is a lot like the video I did on PETA, where basically they just don't know very much about the actual reptile trade because there are so many other places to get reptiles and amphibians, not just these big stores that we do not support. but let's move on.
When they bring the reptile home, if he's already in a compromised position, if he's not well, it's just going to get worse, because the information you will have gotten from the pet store, I will almost guarantee, is not the correct information for doing the best that you can for the animal that you bought.
I 100% agree with this. Well, it's kind of like 90% agree with this. I also did a video on this topic, and it's a very well-known thing. The pet stores often do not give the right information, mainly for two reasons. One, the employees just don't know the information, and two, they're more interested in the sale than actually the proper care for that animal. This is something really popular that you see in these big pet chains, and even some smaller places, and maybe a couple private breeders and different things like that. So yes, it is important to note that the info is sometimes and pretty much often incorrect in these pet stores, but we'll probably get more into this later.
So reptiles are pretty low maintenance, you're saying?
Reptiles are the lowest maintenance. You can't get any better than a reptile with maintenance.
Well, reptiles, in fact, are very difficult to care for. We are keeping in this country over 600 different species of reptiles as pets. Now, of course, we know the troubles that people experience even keeping dogs and cats as pets properly, and that's just two species. Imagine trying to keep over 600 different species, each one with their own particular dietary requirements, temperature requirements, humidity requirements, other habitat requirements. It's very complex.
Individual keepers aren't keeping 600 species. You're just going to have one or a few. You don't need all of the information on all 600 species. And even pet stores are not going to sell all 600 species. This seems kind of irrelevant.
For most of these species, your average person could not possibly duplicate the conditions that are needed, the conditions in the wild essentially, which are needed to keep this animal alive in captivity.
Basically, she said no one can keep these animals healthy, I guess. There's one comment on this video that I think kind of sums up this entire thing. They said, reptiles are not hard to care for. Most reptiles are captive born now. This is a propaganda film filled with false information. So definitely some animals are way harder to keep, but there's literally no evidence backing the fact that people can't keep these animals safe and healthy and happy in captivity. There's a reason that thousands and thousands and thousands of reptiles and amphibians over the past decades have completely outlived their natural lifespans in captivity. This is literally just completely made up. Doesn't make any sense, and it's not helping their case and not helping the look or view on reptile keeping, because it literally makes no sense.
The transmission of salmonella from reptiles poses a substantial threat to human health, and most at risk are children.
They worry because they have the potential to carry it, just like a chicken has the potential to carry it. The rule of thumb is wash your hands before and after holding any animal. Any animal.
Yeah, that's overall pretty accurate. The rule of thumb is washing your hands before and after you handle animals, because any and all animals can carry all types of bacteria. But what's the Humane Society's argument for this?
So the pet shop should be saying, yes, all reptiles carry salmonella. Yes, you have to be very careful.
And that's basically what she just said.
They have the potential to carry it, just like a chicken has the potential to carry it.
Basically all animals will carry bacteria and diseases and things, even humans, and it is known that salmonella specifically, well, one, it can be avoided by washing hands. This is why new regulations have come in to help aid this issue. For example, turtles under 4 inches cannot be sold to help fix this. The risk and dangers are not very much higher than any other animal that you would have around the house or other people around.
Lanning sees firsthand what happens when pet reptiles do not get proper care, and she blames it more on ignorance than intent.
This is very much the case. With a lot of species of animals, they are purposefully neglected or abused. Like look at, I don't know, dogs and cats and plenty of other species. It's less often with reptiles. I'm sure it does happen, unfortunately, but I've never really heard of it. But let's see their example of spreading false information and causing ignorance in people.
Do they need any special lighting?
They don't need the special lighting, although I always recommend to go ahead and give them the UV. It certainly can't hurt.
But without that special lighting, reptiles get a crippling bone disease.
Austin is our worst case currently of metabolic bone disease.
The past 15 seconds are a perfect representation of just how dumb and lazy and inaccurate a ton of the stuff on the Humane Society is about the topics when it comes to reptiles and amphibians. The person they were asking about the UVB was holding a blue-tongued skink and giving them info on a blue-tongued skink. They were showing metabolic bone disease in a green iguana. A blue-tongued skink is not a green iguana, kind of like that PhD lady just said.
Over 600 different species, each one with their own particular dietary requirements, temperature requirements, humidity requirements, other habitat requirements.
In other words, some animals need some things, other animals don't need those things, or they need different things. As in blue-tongued skinks, as we've talked about on the channel, they don't require UVB, but it's beneficial. This is just a lack of information. So the Humane Society is spreading misinformation by defaming proper information as misinformation.
What I don't know how to do is how to get to people before they've made the purchase decision. It seems that people make the decision to get a reptile fairly casually and with fairly little research and information gathering. And I think if there was more of that done, there would be less animals purchased. I think just knowledge would change a lot of people's mind.
So the first thing about this is I don't think this happens quite as often as we think it does, because you don't hear the tons of times that people do have the right info and do raise the animals properly. However, this is a correct statement that she said. That's why we educate people on the subject. That's why this channel and many other channels exist. That's why there's so much information online trying to give people the correct husbandry and correct information on this. The same thing happens with bunnies and rodents and dogs and cats and all these other things where people just aren't educated and aren't ready for the animal. The Humane Society educates the people on all of these except for reptiles. So basically they've got all this nice laid out info for all these animals that we talked about earlier, but when it comes to reptiles, just make them illegal.
There is no way that we can provide a good life for them, in my personal opinion. The way to stop it is to stop bringing them in, period.
The lady from the sanctuary just contradicted herself.
I think just knowledge would change a lot of people's mind.
And then you said,
the way to stop it is to stop bringing them in, period.
That doesn't make any sense. I thought we just educate them because they tend to be kind of ignorant. Some people tend to be kind of ignorant with these. And then you said the only thing we can do is keep them away and ban them. And then we finished it off with,
there is no reason to have a reptile as a pet, period.
Yeah, I think we should say the same about dogs. There's no reason to have a dog. Wait, why should we keep dogs? Maybe because they help people psychologically with different sort of problems or issues or things that they're going through. Maybe because they live way longer and way healthier in captivity when under the proper care. Maybe because people are really passionate and interested in the subject and know that they can give these animals the proper husbandry that they need. Well, all these things by all means fit dogs and many other animals, but they also fit snakes perfectly and other reptiles and amphibians. I dedicated a whole video to 100 reasons snakes make great pets. Some of the reasons were just kind of dumb and for fun, but the far majority of them are completely valid reasons as to why snakes are good pets. So there's a very common theme with these animal welfare organizations, with PETA and the Humane Society and the Dodo and many others. Can someone please just find me an actual good animal welfare thing that actually follows logical sense and is fair about all the animals and doesn't just ignore one group for who knows why? If so, I would love to know about them. But that was a video, and then before the video that was stuff on why pet snakes should be illegal, and then why every reptile should be illegal, even though there's a lot of hypocrisy with it and false information with it, and stuff that kind of just ruins it for everyone when it really doesn't need to happen. If you'd like more information on reptiles, this channel is dedicated to it, so you can watch the other videos. There's tons of other channels and actual good resources you can find. Make sure you check out USARK or USARK or United States Association for Reptile Keeping for actual logical information on the subject that promotes responsible keeping. So now, unfortunately, I have to add the Humane Society, a site that, or an organization that I want supported. I have to throw it into the pile with PETA and some others. I don't even know how to finish it. It's just kind of irritating and depressing that this is something we have to deal with. But hopefully everything made sense. Feel free to ask other questions or leave more comments on it. That'll be it for this video. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.